Good to have you with us on a Monday morning. I'm Joe Fryer.
And I'm Savannah Sellers. Thanks for starting your week with us. We're going to begin our show with the dawn of a new chapter in Syria. This morning, people there are waking up to their first day without President Bashar al-Assad. The Syrian leader ruled the country for 24 years before fleeing to Russia over the weekend in the wake of a rapid two-week advance by rebel forces.
Many Syrians are celebrating the collapse of the government and the end of a near 14-year civil war that killed almost 500,000 people. International organizations accuse the Syrian government of committing human rights abuses, including torture and kidnapping. But Syria's future remains uncertain. The rebel insurgents that spearheaded the offensive are part of an Islamic group known as HTS. They're considered a terror group by the United States and the United Nations. Speaking yesterday, President Biden welcomed the downfall of the Syrian government and said his administration would begin work on a transition for the country.
We will engage with all Syrian groups, including within the process led by the United Nations, to establish a transition away from the Assad regime toward independent, sovereign, independent, I want to say it again, sovereign Syria, with a new constitution, a new government that serves all Syrians. And this process will be determined by the Syrian people themselves.
We've got a team standing by to cover all of this. We are going to start with NBC News international correspondent Raf Sanchez. Raf, good morning. All this happened so fast. Just walk us through the events of the last 24 hours and the reaction we're already getting out of Syria this morning.
Joe, Savannah, good morning. So fast. The history of the Middle East rewritten at lightning speed. Bashar al-Assad and his family ruled Syria with an iron fist for more than 50 years, but their regime crumbled in less than 2 weeks in the face of this advance by Syrian rebel fighters. They burst out of northwest Syria, taking city after city. And in the early hours of Sunday morning, they entered the capital, Damascus, seizing control there. Bashar al-Assad, Syria's toppled president, fleeing to Russia along with his family. His regime really didn't put up a fight at any stage during this rebel advance. And what we've come to see is that this was a truly brittle regime that, without the help of its main backers, Russia, who over the last 2 years has been distracted in Ukraine, Iran and Hezbollah, who've been weakened fighting against Israel over the last year, Assad's forces really were in no position to fight themselves. They threw down their weapons, and today the rebels are consolidating power in Damascus. As you mentioned, the rebels are led by an Islamist group. It has its origins in al-Qaeda. It is considered still to be a terrorist organization by the United States, but it is going to great lengths to try to signal to the Syrian people and to the world that it's moderated. Its leader, Mohammed al-Jolani, was in one of the historic mosques in the old city of Damascus yesterday. He's promising a government for all Syrians, that there will not be reprisals against political enemies, against minority groups, and people around the region, around the world, are watching to see as this new rebel government takes shape. Guys.
Yeah, Raf, let's talk about what could come next. I mean, there's concern, there's uncertainty, especially since the main rebel group here, they are considered a terrorist organization by the U.S. Tell us more about the president's reaction to these events and what we will see next.
So President Biden speaking at the White House yesterday saying that this is both a moment of opportunity and a moment of risk. And at the center of that balance are these rebels, the main group called Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. And the U.S. says that they will judge them by their actions. Take a listen.
We will remain vigilant. Make no mistake, some of the rebel groups that took down Assad have their own grim record of terrorism and human rights abuses. We've taken note of statements by the leaders of these rebel groups in recent days, and they're saying the right things now. But as they take on greater responsibility, we will assess not just their words, but their actions.
Now, senior administration officials were asked yesterday whether the United States would think about removing that terror designation from HTS. They said that that is not a step that they're going to take at this time, but that they are finding ways to engage with them. It's worth saying HTS is the largest rebel group, but there are a number of other factions, some of them backed by the U.S., by American allies like Jordan, who are also playing a role in Damascus. And one of the big questions here is how these different rebel groups will work together going forward. Guys.
Raf, on top of all that, many Syrians are celebrating the downfall of the Syrian government, but Israel says it's been carrying out airstrikes there. It's even launched a ground operation. Tell us what Israel's goals are here.
Yeah, so guys, I just want to give you a little sense of the geography here. If control room can come back to me, I'll explain exactly where we're standing. We're on the Israeli-controlled side of the Golan Heights. We're looking out over southern Syria. Damascus is over the horizon. And this used to be a buffer zone with Israeli forces on one side, Syrian troops on the other. But as the Syrian regime has collapsed, Israel has moved its forces inside of Syria itself. Now, the Israeli government is saying this is a temporary measure. It is designed to prevent instability, to make sure that the conflict in Syria doesn't spill over into Israeli-controlled territory on this side of the border. Israel also, as you said, carrying out airstrikes targeting chemical weapons, biological weapons, ballistic missile facilities inside of Syria. And what the Israeli government is saying is that it is absolutely determined that these strategic weapons do not fall into the wrong hands, especially into the hands of terrorist groups operating within that broader rebel coalition.
Yeah,
Yes.
We also understand the U.S. carried out airstrikes on ISIS targets, speaking of in Syria, in the wake of this takeover. How concerned is the Biden administration that the group could take advantage of a power vacuum?
Yeah, it's a major concern, and that is exactly the term, a power vacuum. You have a lot of chaos inside of Syria right now. ISIS thrives in chaos. It thrives in areas where there are not governmental authorities. The U.S. says that one step it is taking is it's going to keep those roughly 1,000 ground troops inside of Syria. They are in a largely Kurdish-controlled area in the eastern half of the country. There's no indication that these rebels are any threat to those American forces. But as you saw, even with these whirlwind political changes going on in the capital, those American counterterrorism operations continuing in the east of the country. Guys.
All right. Raf, thank you very much for your reporting. Let's continue this conversation with Hagar Shamali. She's the host of Oh My World on YouTube and the former NSC director for Syria and Lebanon. Hagar, always good to have you with us. So first off, just put into context the significance of what we're seeing unfold in Syria right now, not just for Syria itself, but for the region as a whole.
Sure. It's absolutely astonishing. There isn't any foreign policy expert or any billions of dollars of intelligence that could have predicted what we saw in Syria over the last week and certainly over this weekend. And I want to put it in the 60,000-foot level because it reflects these larger geopolitical dynamics. This wouldn't have happened without the weakness that you're seeing among Bashar al-Assad's club of baddies, Iran, Hezbollah, Russia. Iran's on the defense. Hezbollah's been decapitated. And Russia, importantly, is obviously distracted by Ukraine. But Russia is critically the one that saved Bashar al-Assad in 2014 during the civil war and shifted the tides in favor of him. And without Russia, he wasn't able to do it. And so the way he fled like a coward is nothing we could have predicted. And most importantly, it was the military defecting. A dictator cannot stand without his military. And so to watch them defect and leave their post this way, that's critically also why he had to run away before they captured him.
Hagar, with all that being said, just how surprised were you by how quickly the Syrian government collapsed here? And help us understand why Russia this time around did not come to Assad's defense.
Yeah, I was definitely incredibly surprised because a week ago when the rebels had taken Aleppo, my expectation was that Assad would respond with the same force that he responded throughout the civil war, with indiscriminate bombing of civilians done in partnership with Russia and Iran. Even though Russia and Iran are much weaker, that doesn't mean that they don't actually have some resources to lend. But if they're all on the defense and Russia's distracted, then they're not going to want to invest in Assad. And I think that's a key part. Right after that happened, Assad flew to Moscow to kiss Putin's ring and beg him for support. And Putin didn't give it to him. And again, Putin is very focused on Ukraine. He himself is struggling and spending his resources, which is why he's relying on others like North Korea. But that said, there's also this belief there clearly that this was not a dictator they felt the need to invest in anymore. This uprising and the fact that the rebels did this is because Assad himself did nothing to appease his people, to support them with their protests. And so I think they also lost faith in him as well.
While many are celebrating the fall of Assad, the fall of this dictatorship, there are, of course, worries about what does come next. This main rebel group that spearheaded this takeover, designated terrorist by the U.S. What do you think comes next, and how will the Biden administration proceed, given we're just a month away from the incoming Trump administration?
Sure. Well, I've never seen, to be honest with you, I've never seen in my experience an Islamist militia that was once designated as a terrorist group change its ways so radically that they actually become the beacon of democracy. And the reason, and the proof is in the pudding. This is a group that controlled northwestern Syria as it is, and they controlled it with a conservative, if not often extreme Sunni ideology. They did crack down on dissent. They did crack down on minorities there. And so there isn't a lot of hope for me. And the problem that you see in Syria as well in general, when you have a vacuum like this, you're going to have a lot of rebels take advantage. The Biden administration, the best they can do is ensure the protection of Kurds and that ISIS doesn't reemerge. And most importantly, the release of American journalist Austin Tice, who remains in Syria and is well and alive.
Hagar Shamali, thank you for joining us.
This morning, the murder mystery that has captivated the nation is deepening.
Yeah, police released new photos of a man they are calling a person of interest in the deadly shooting of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Investigators say the pictures are from the taxi that person took to a bus terminal after the murder. Police also said they found a backpack they believe belongs to the suspect, but here's a strange detail. It held a jacket and Monopoly money.
For more, let's bring in NBC News correspondent Valerie Castro. She is in Midtown Manhattan. Valerie, good morning. So we have these new photos, this possible backpack belonging to the person of interest. Any signs police are any closer to finding the suspect?
Joe and Savannah, good morning. We know the clues continue to slowly trickle in this case. Of course, as you mentioned, NYPD releasing those new images of a person of interest over the weekend, that man wearing a mask seen in the back of a taxi cab and walking alongside that car. But police sources say investigators have not made a positive identification of the suspect or person of interest that they are looking for in this case. They do continue to search for the weapon that was used in the shooting, the NYPD deploying dive teams to a lake inside Central Park over the weekend. We know the suspect was seen on surveillance video riding a bicycle into and out of Central Park following the shooting, so dive teams were searching for that weapon somewhere in the park. The NYPD also sending out canines that specialize in gun detection to Upper Manhattan, where the suspect is believed to have last been near the bus terminal near the George Washington Bridge, thinking that the gunman may have stashed the weapon in that area before likely leaving the city. Joe and Savannah.
Valerie, investigators, though, are expanding their search right out of New York, out of the whole tri-state area, even including nearly 1,000 miles away to Georgia. Tell us more about the locations that are being searched and who's involved.
Yes, Savannah, last week the NYPD put out a very detailed timeline. They say the suspect is believed to have arrived in New York City by Greyhound bus at the Port Authority bus terminal in late November. And that bus, they say, originated from the Atlanta area. Now, later in the day of the shooting, they say the suspect was seen leaving Central Park on a bicycle, getting into a taxi cab and heading to another bus terminal in Upper Manhattan, where they believe he may have also boarded a bus leaving the New York City area. They are checking to see if there is surveillance or photos of that suspect boarding another bus, potentially headed towards the Atlanta area. We know Atlanta police are now also involved in this investigation.
And Valerie, the shooting is sparking backlash against the American healthcare system and some rather unexpected reactions over the weekend. There was even a shooter look-alike competition in New York. How is United Healthcare just responding to this attack right now?
Yeah, Joe, you mentioned that lookalike competition. It's become sort of a lighthearted thing here in the city over the last several months. There was a Timothée Chalamet lookalike contest a few months ago in Washington Square Park. The actor himself showed up. But that event took sort of a dark turn over the weekend when someone organized a lookalike competition for people to arrive dressed as the gunman. People showed up wearing hooded jackets, masks over their faces. Unclear if anyone was declared a winner. United Healthcare has not issued any new statements other than the one that was issued following the shooting, calling Thompson a highly respected colleague and friend. We have learned that today a funeral service will be held. We're told that service is private. Joe and Savannah.
All right, we see there temporary fencing also being put up at United Healthcare's headquarters. Valerie Castro, thank you so much.
For more now, we are joined by NBC News terrorism analyst and retired ATF special agent in charge, Jim Kavanaugh. Jim, good morning. So New York City Mayor Eric Adams said over the weekend the net is tightening on this suspect. We've got a little bit of new information, new evidence like that backpack, these photos. But with all the high-tech surveillance technology that exists in New York, how has the shooter been able to evade capture? What do you make of that?
Well, you know, they just haven't been able to pick his identity up off a camera or a tip just yet. At least they haven't been able to zero in on him. They may very well have his name in the database of names that have come through on tips, that have given threats to United Healthcare, that have been uncovered as someone who might have lost a loved one in the healthcare system and is upset. There's all kinds of ways that names come into task forces running big cases, and you always have plenty of names and suspects to look at. The key is, can you get, you know, under the theory of transfer, that the killer left some of their DNA, fingerprints, possessions at the crime, can you get something that can positively identify a person that you then look at? You know, it's not necessarily what everybody thinks, that you have to get DNA and put it in a computer and find the answer or the fingerprint. What you really want as the commanders, investigators, is I want that DNA that I know I can identify, or a fingerprint, a partial, a complete fingerprint, something that I can say, if I have a suspect, I can determine if it's him or not. And so that's what they're searching for. Of course, they're looking for the gun in Central Park, which is a very good move. They need to get those bomb and gun sniffing dogs, which ATF supplies them and to all the police, and they'll find a bullet, they'll find a gun. So, you know, get a bunch of them up there, be looking for the gun, get in the pond with the divers. That's another good lead. This is a big week for the detectives, so they need to press and release more of these pictures as they get them.
So, Jim, I mean, police say it appears the suspect took a bus out of the city after this murder. New York is big enough on its own. Just how much harder does this make it for police to find him, knowing this person could be anywhere right now?
No doubt about it. He could be anywhere. He could be in the wind. I mean, he could be, you know, hiking the Appalachian Trail, or went up camping on a mountain, or he could have went back to his home and his job and his routine. The key is that some tip, some lead uncovers a name, and then they can look at the photograph of the name that goes with the name, a driver's license. Oh, this person here is, you know, 75 years old. Is clearly not the guy we're looking for. This person here, he meets the age description. What's his connection? Well, he made a threat to the CEO previously. Oh, okay. Well, maybe we ought to investigate him. Let's interview him. You know, where were you? What do you know? Would you let us take a swab of your saliva? You know, can we check, see if he has fingerprints? So that's how they're going to catch him. They're going to catch him through information they develop from tips, from leads, and then be able to match it to fingerprints, saliva, DNA at the scene.
We are on day 6 of the investigation. Where do you think police go from here? And would you be concerned, if you were involved here, that it's been 6 days and you haven't been able to crack this yet?
No, actually, there's a lot of leads here. I've had many very difficult bombing and murder cases where I didn't have full-face pictures of the suspect, and this many chances at DNA and fingerprints, maybe a dropped cell phone, and a chance of finding a gun, and his jacket and a backpack. To me, this is great evidence. And the NYPD detectives, a collective wisdom, experience, training, they're going to put this all together. So, no, I think this is a very, very solvable case. I think they're going to solve it. It's a big week for them. They need to press hard on it, push the picture out. They've got the reward up with the FBI. So those are all good things. They need to press hard this week, maybe get a little break in the case.
All right. Jim Kavanaugh, always appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Well, an NBC News exclusive, President-elect Trump gave his first broadcast television interview since winning back the White House last month. Mr. Trump sat down with Meet the Press moderator Kristen Welker for a wide-ranging conversation about his plans for a second term and his first 100 days in office.
You've talked about prioritizing people who have criminal histories.
Correct.
But is it your plan to deport everyone who is here illegally over the next 4 years?
Well, I think you have to do it. And it's a very tough thing to do. But you have to have, you have rules, regulations, laws. They came in illegally. The people that have been treated very unfairly are the people that have been online for 10 years to come into the country.
When asked about members of the January 6th committee?
Honestly, they should go to jail.
So you think Liz Cheney should go to jail?
For what they did.
Everyone on the committee, you think?
I think everybody anybody that voted in favor.
Are you going to direct your FBI director and your attorney general to send them to jail?
No, not at all. I think that they'll have to look at that, but I'm not going to. I'm going to focus on drill, baby, drill.
When you say that, it carries weight, though. You've tapped these people to lead the Justice Department and FBI.
They can do whatever they want.
But the president-elect says he is looking to pardon people convicted for their actions on January 6th.
We're looking at it right now, most likely, yeah. Yeah, I'm going to look at everything. We're going to look at individual cases, yeah.
Okay.
But I'm going to be acting very quickly.
Within your first 100 days, first day?
First day.
First day.
Yeah, I'm looking first day.
Mr. Trump also signaling a major shift in U.S. policy toward Ukraine. Should Ukraine prepare for less aid from the United States after you're sworn into office?
Yeah, probably.
You said you can end the war in 24 hours. You've even said you want to try to end it before you're sworn into office. You're actively trying to?
I am.
Have you talked to President Putin?
No, I have not.
You haven't talked to President Putin since you've been elected?
No. Well, I don't want to say that, but I haven't spoken to him recently.
So you've spoken to President Putin since you've been elected?
I don't want to say that. I don't want to say anything about that because I don't want to do anything that could impede the negotiation.
Our thanks to Kristen Walker.
Now, in the interview, President-elect Trump also discussed his promise to increase tariffs on some imported goods. Mr. Trump argues that it could be a negotiating tactic for future trade deals.
Let's turn now and get a check at your morning news now weather.
Meteorologist Michelle Grossman is here with the Monday forecast. Michelle, good morning.
Good morning, guys. And I don't say this a lot, but in the Northeast, you're going to need the umbrella over the next several days. We are looking at a soggy start to the week, not only today, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Wednesday is going to be very soggy, helping out the drought situation. This is what radar looks like right now. You can see the rain falling from the Great Lakes all the way through the Ohio Valley, parts of the Appalachians into the Southeast. And we have a flood risk throughout the Gulf Coast states as we go throughout the day because we will see heavy rain, and we're seeing that heavy rain in some spots where you see those brighter colors. Behind this, we're looking at cooler air working in. So as we go throughout today, we're going to see this front making its way a little bit closer, bringing the chance for some rain, heavy at times, and also new snow for the Great Lakes, also New England. The lake effect snow machine just kind of shut down right now. We're seeing some rain. That's going to turn way back up Wednesday through Friday. We're looking at a pretty significant lake effect snow event Wednesday into Friday. Then by tomorrow, we're looking at another surge of moisture along the East Coast. Again, pockets of heavy rain. That's going to help the drought situation, especially in the Northeast, New England, also the Mid-Atlantic. A few stronger storms are possible in the Southeast as well. That could bring some gusty winds, some heavy rain. By Wednesday, showers targeting the Northeast. We're looking at lake effect snow returning late Wednesday into Friday. So we will see accumulating snow once again there. Rainfall forecast, we're going to see a lot of it from New England all the way down to the Southeast. Notice those darker colors. That's where we're going to see the most amount of rain. And that is true, too, for the snow. We're looking at some pinks and purples there along the upper Midwest, the UP of Michigan, into parts of the Great Lakes where we will see some accumulating snow there. Flash flood risk today for New Orleans, Mobile, but it could extend in portions of Georgia and also Alabama, Mississippi. And then by tomorrow, Columbus, Atlanta, that's going to be the target for some really heavy rainfall. Could see some flash flooding there. But notice that area kind of expands. So now we're talking about portions of the Mid-Atlantic as well. It shifts into the Northeast, into New England on Wednesday. Boston, Bangor, Burlington could see flash flooding on Wednesday. And then it's really warm, guys. So this time of year, usually we get rain, but it always comes at a price with, or we get, if you like the mild air, it comes at a price with rain. Yeah. And that's what we're going to see for the next several days, then plummeting Wednesday into Thursday.
So dreaming of a wet Christmas and then cold.
And cold. And just burn. That would mean it would snow if it rains, right? At that point.
It would snow if it rains. What?
Later when it gets colder.
Oh, yes. Then when it gets snow.
That's all I'm
But sadly,
for.
This is the rain, the precipitation will be gone at that point, right?
Right, exactly.
We just get the cold.
Great. Michelle, thank you. See you in a little bit.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.